Hello, everyone, and welcome to our first webinar, our first all-female LinkedIn Live. Sorry, I said webinar. Following up to our first all-female webinar that was done about a month ago. So my name is Rita Sony, Principal Analyst for Impact Sourcing and Sustainability here at Everest Group. And I'm very excited for this discussion with my colleagues, our sustainability team, Meenakshi and Arpita. Thank you so much for joining us today. Please go ahead and get started with commenting on where you're dialing in from. We have some exciting news related to that I'll get into in a second. But first, I'd love to have my co-presenters start giving us their introduction. Arpita, would you like to start?
Sure, Rita. Thanks a lot. Hi, everyone. Thanks a lot for joining in, and we are excited to have this conversation with you as a follow-up to our webinar. It's such an opportune time to be talking about this topic, seeing so much interest out there to listen to what is happening in the industry, how the sustainability as an as a practice is evolving in the industry. And I think we at Everest Group are playing our part, and we have launched this sustainability focused research area, and I'm a senior analyst who's driving this research area along with my colleagues Rita and Meenakshi. And I think we are doing some wonderful research in this area. We are driving some amazing conversations, and it's always good to share our learnings with the broader audience and keep the conversation going. So thanks, Rita, and looking forward to the next half an hour having a very engaging conversation with our audience. And I would like Meenakshi to introduce herself, and then we can just get right into it.
Thanks, Arpita, for setting up the context so beautifully. I think so. I'm an analyst at the Everest Group, and I'm a part of the Sustainability Technology and Services team. And as a team, we are very passionate about tracking this market and understanding what's happening and bringing forth our point of views around it. And I think we have come far with a lot of insights on the work that we have done on the peak, and Arpita will be sharing more about it. Uh, Apart from that, I would also like to highlight the point of view that we are going to bring forth in this session. So, what we are observing in the market is that companies have started moving the needle on sustainability. So, the conversations have moved beyond compliance and reporting. And purpose driven companies have started embedding sustainability in the DNA of their production processes, their governance policies, their sourcing, and the way they serve their customers. So, I think we'll be discussing all these points in details. Rita, if you would like to add something here.
Thanks so much, Arpita and Meenakshi. So as we mentioned, this is a follow-up to a webinar that the three of us did back in May. And I think we're going to put a link to that on-demand webinar. But because it's a follow-up to that, we were really hoping for this to be more of a conversation. So I already see a lot of comments in the chat function. We'd love to know where you're dialing in from, but we want this to also be a conversation, as I said. So we're running a special promotion, since this is an ESG event, to celebrate the theme of sustainability at Everest Group. We're going to make a pledge to plant one tree for every comment and every reaction that is put into our chat or reactions to the LinkedIn Live. OneTreePlanted.org is the organization where we're going to do this donation. They're a nonprofit that's focused on global reforestation. And the reason that was important to us is because the conversation that we're having today is global. It's not simply about solving problems in one corner of the globe and forgetting about the others. So again, One Tree Planted is OneTreePlanted.org, as you see in our comments, is the organization. So please do comment and send us your reactions to the kind of things that we're talking about, but also engage us and have more of a discussion and really just comment and tell us what you're thinking. So I think at this stage, let's get into it. Really, we want to start talking about what it is that we mean in sustainability, and specifically in sustainability technology and the enablement process. So as many of you may know, we have developed a purpose framework. And from that purpose framework, we've created what we're calling a maturity framework. These 4 levels of where the sustainable journey should be. So again, this is a journey, and we see these levels. But in essence, we want to say that these 4 levels are not simply, level 4 is not simply something that's aspirational, but we're actually seeing some interesting momentum going on here. Arpita, could you get us started on talking about what we've learned so far in our research and some of the advice that you have on thinking about this maturity framework?
Sure, definitely, Rita, and thanks for setting this up. The Everest Group maturity framework is kind of a journey, as you already mentioned, that symbolizes how enterprises across industries globally are progressing on their sustainability journey. Like, for example, a decade back, when the conversation was mostly focused about the social impact, positive impact of sustainability initiatives that an organization can have. From that, I think the enterprises are proactively moving to risk mitigation phase, and the current aspiration, I wouldn't call it an aspiration, but currently the ambition for enterprises is to enable sustainability within their organizations, to have it embedded across your business operations. And as you rightly mentioned, when you talk about the journey is not going to be easy, but that should not be a challenge for enterprises, because apart from the enterprises showing this intention of moving, accelerating on this journey, there is an evolving ecosystem of, be it consultancy providers, be it technology service providers, be it just technology providers out there who are making advancements, who are helping enterprises achieve their sustainability targets in the long run. And one more thing I would just like to highlight here is that yes, there is regulatory pressure, but I think the key motivation and driver for enterprises to adopt sustainability is moving from just the regulatory pressure or the positive environmental social impact to just pleasing their customers. There's a push from the customers, the employees, the stakeholders, as we call. There's a push from them to, for enterprises to adopt these sustainability initiatives. Meenakshi, would you like to add anything to that?
I think, Arpita, you've already set the context. We are definitely seeing a lot of traction around adopting sustainability as an ambition across, their top line growth and their stakeholder management. And we will be discussing this in detail. Now, I would really like to ask the audience to tell us where their organizations stand in the journey of sustainability. So please comment the sustainability-led objectives that your firm has and how you're moving the needle on it. We would really love to know.
While we wait for folks to do some typing to tell us where they are, first I would like, Ashok, thank you so much for joining us. Ashok Padmini is a good friend and is thinking more broadly about tree planting, and not just that the trees need to be planted, but that there needs to be a holistic approach to that. So, we really appreciate that comment, and just want to highlight that that's the reason that we're going through this organization that's thinking globally, not just about tree planting as the concept, but about reforestation. So great point that you've made, and want to ensure that that's what we're looking at, and we're kind of going beyond sort of the rhetoric of tree planting. So now back to the sustainability maturity framework. I think it's great to hear from folks. Pankaj Kumar has commented here that that regulation is a challenge, and it's something that we really do need to think about. And it would be great to even get into more detail, Pankaj and others, about what within regulation is something that is challenging, and where in particular your firm is seeing some of those challenges. So as folks keep commenting, and I realize that some of the information that's on these slides is a little detailed. We did want to get into what are the objectives, drivers, and commitments that are being made under sustainability. But it's time, I think, that we move into a little more detail. We've been very intentional about in our language about not using the term trade-off. And the reason that we've been intentional about that is because, especially during these volatile times, we want to double down on the concept of there being a business case for sustainability. And with that, we have four elements that we see as value towards proof of value for sustainability. Arpita, I think you helped us come up with this sort of layout. Can you go through the four examples?
Yes, definitely, Rita. And I would just like to double down on the statement that you just made. There is a myth in the industry that in order to accelerate on your sustainability journey, probably you have to take a hit on your profits. But we are seeing an entirely counterintuitive view based on our experiences and our conversations in the market. And based on our research, we have highlighted four broad buckets of business case for sustainability, how enterprises across industries are already leveraging sustainability initiatives to build either, if I just talk about the first one, which is the top line growth. We have especially seen it in B2C enterprises who are driving competitive edge by driving sustainability focused offerings, sustainability focused messaging, trying to target new customer segments, new markets. Uh, if I call it the Gen Z or the Generation Green, that is focused on more the woke customers or the woke employees, if I just call them. Multiple enterprises, not just in the B2C, but also in the B2B industry, are venturing into new sustainability focused products as well as services to drive their top line growth. If I come to the next aspect, which is the cost reduction, another very mature use case that we have seen in the industry is how enterprises are adopting sustainability initiatives to drive their operational efficiency, be it their business processes, business operations, manufacturing processes, sourcing, etc. Through this operational efficiency, be it through water management, through electricity management, power management, waste management, the kind of cost benefits they are driving is definitely contributing to their bottom lines. The risk mitigation, the the pace of climate change that we have seen in the last decade globally, it becomes paramount for enterprises to take care of, to proactively take care of how climate can impact their organization, their business operations, and staying ahead of it can definitely help enterprises in ensuring their business continuity. The third aspect, and it's the most talked about aspect right now, is curtailing the regulatory burden. And as we have had this conversation with multiple buyers of sustainability services, we have seen that not a week, not a month goes by when there is no new regulatory mandate that is coming out globally, right? And the enterprises who are actively tracking their regulatory burden, who are able to put those, put transparency in their emissions, able to report their emissions better, able to manage their emissions better, are better able to not just have a more strategic freedom through deregulation. They're also able to get benefit through the subsidies and government support because of their transparency in reporting. And last but definitely not the least is the stakeholder capitalism. I mean, it will be, I don't even need to start talking about the popularity of ESG funding globally right now. ESG funds are definitely performing better than other funds globally. And definitely the investor push that we are seeing in the market with respect to supporting the organization, supporting the enterprises that are more mature in terms of their ESG initiatives. You're also able to capture a loyal customer base that is more focused on sustainability initiatives, that is more motivated to collaborate with organizations, buy their products, buy their services. if the organization is taking care of their ESG initiatives. And last but not the least, with employee productivity. And before I just get into employee productivity, I would like Rita, apart from sustainability, uh, we're also proactively and comprehensively covering the impact sourcing research. So, do you have any view there?
Absolutely. And I think one of the most important stakeholders when we talk about stakeholder capitalism is the employees and their experience at work. And impact sourcing has been such an inspiring example of how inclusion can both be good for society as a whole, but also it's great for the businesses and the business case. So yes, it's been amazing to do that research, and I hope those that are on this LinkedIn Live have been able to see some of the work that we've done there. But absolutely inspiring tales of work that's happening with people with disabilities, working with single parents, working with refugees, and not doing it as a philanthropy, which is important but has limited scope, but in this manner that can completely scale and have a broad impact. So I'm really excited that we are getting some comments, and Pankaj, I feel like you are one of our star contributors to this tree planting effort that we're making. Thank you so much. And what I really appreciate about Pankaj's comments is that it's the very comprehensive approach that you're saying with about going beyond regulatory burdens, which really kind of resonates with what we're saying in this frame as well. It would be great to hear from others what you think of these four areas. What are and if not these four, what are the key motivations for your firm that are driving you to be present at an event like this, to look at accelerating sustainability focused efforts? I did notice, Arpita and Meenakshi, that no one really commented on the levels that they may or may not be at. I do realize that sometimes it's hard to quickly respond, but also it's hard to be public about where you're at, especially because it's not just a conversation of being at one level or the other, but being within that journey, and in some aspects being at, say, level 4, and in other aspects being at level 2. What I think would be great is if we can go on to really talking about some really specific case studies that hone in specifically on the four aspects that Arpita just walked us through, and move from there.
Thank you, Rita, and thanks, Arpita, for setting up the context on the important pillars of sustainability. Those four are really important, and we are going to. You talked about the myth that people think that business case and sustainability cannot go in hand, but let us just burst those myths and let us talk about the real life case studies that we are seeing in the market. So the first one is along the lines of the top line growth, and this is for Nike. So and I would like to highlight that they have over 40% of the share in the athletic brand market. And what they've started doing is that they've started including recycled materials in 75% of their products. They have started a program to recycle bottles to make polyester for their shoes, and the new gen customers are really happy about it because they are happy to pay a premium on the sustainable products, and Nike is really tapping that market. I think these companies, especially the fashion brands, they've started using sustainability as a brand differentiator. If we talk about Gap, they're sourcing a major part of their cotton from Better Cotton Initiative program, which basically is sensitizing farmers to use less water when they're growing cotton. The next example is for the cost reduction part, and it's about Volkswagen. And we just, as a team, keep on reiterating that technology is the secret sauce to enable sustainability across enterprises, and especially the emerging technology when we talk about AI, the blockchain, the IoT. So, what Volkswagen is doing is they're using IoT sensors on their conveyor belts to reduce their downtime as well as their energy cost. And this is really using less energy for them. So they are saving a lot of money because they are thinking in terms of sustainability. Now, our next example is very interesting. So let me set a context for it first. Nowadays, what's happening is that many countries have banned animal testing because it's cruel, it's unsustainable, and a lot of not only the new gen customers, I think the millennials also don't want to use the products that are testing on animals. So 41 countries in this world have banned animal testing. Although what's happening with these cosmetic brands is that they have to, and China is, it's a big market, so when they have to sell in China, it's mandatory to test on animals. So there are a lot of certification programs like Leaping Bunny which are very sensitive to such issues, and they're not certifying big cosmetic brands as being cruelty free. So to tap the market where the demand for cruelty-free products are there, I think these cosmetic brands, what they've started doing is they have started launching separate brands which are cruelty-free. Like L'Oreal has launched many brands like Urology, Urban NXP, and all those brands which are basically catering to the market where animal testings are banned, and they're not even selling in China. So that is the way they're tapping the new markets by having separate brand lines for such products. Now, my next example is for stakeholder growth and stakeholder management. What Walmart has started doing is that, and they have been doing this since 2016, but in 2022 they launched their one global Walmart Academy where they're helping their 2.4 million associates to build their careers. So we are not talking about the employee productivity at Walmart. We are talking about Walmart paying for their tuition fee and educating them so that they can take their career forwards. Whether they are working in the Walmart or not is not the question here. So they are really enabling 2.4 million of its employees to become self-sustained in their careers, and while they're really making money for themselves, they're also getting an opportunity to complete their education. So that's a big stakeholder initiative that Walmart has taken. These were the examples. There are many more. Now, Rita, Arpita, if you want to add something to it.
I'm especially proud of the Walmart example. My mom was an associate there, and it was a great place for her to build community and be part of something larger than herself, and have fun doing it. So I think that those are great examples. I think we can go on and on about these examples, but I do want to start to address some of the questions that are coming up. And I'd like to start with Aman Jagi's question about how to solve for sustainability and where we think the issues are that are limiting this action. Arpita, would you like to take that question?
Sure, definitely, Rita. So I will just highlight a few challenges that we have come across that the enterprises across industries are facing in accelerating on their sustainability journey. The first and foremost example is understanding where you currently stand, right? There are so many regulatory frameworks out there. There is no global standard framework, probably, that enterprises can readily refer to, easily understand, and and adopt and move ahead on their sustainability journey. So the first challenge that they are facing is understanding the regulatory landscape, understanding where do you currently stand, what data to capture, what processes you need to make more efficient, where is it that you can make sustainability a priority, right? So this is the first challenge that we have seen across the industry. And while we are talking about challenges, I do want to highlight that the leaders in the space and the global corporations who are ahead in their sustainability journey, how they are tackling this challenge is actively collaborating with the consulting organizations out there who are more advanced, who have the right domain expertise in the area to help you accelerate on your sustainability journey. The other key challenge that we have seen enterprises facing is the siloed nature of operations that the enterprise have, and trying to understand where exactly can you keep your sustainability unit, who is which business unit or which practice should it be a vertical, should it be a horizontal, should it be centralized, should it be decentralized? How do you structure that sustainability practice within your organization so that its impact percolates across the organization and it does not become just talking about sustainability and not implementing on it? It's saying versus doing gap that we very commonly talk about. So these are the
Or
two
the
very major
greenwashing,
factors that we,
the
and yes,
greenwashing issue. Absolutely.
exactly. Yes,
Yeah,
Rita.
and I think Amin, your skepticism is warranted, also. But the good news is that our research has shown over 3,000 different engagements across both the people and planet aspects of sustainability. So the say do gap is not so much as widespread as we used to see it. Um, I think it would be great to address the question that our colleague Katrina raised about what are some of the challenges when it comes to reporting, and actually finding the ESG data. Um, Meenakshi, I think we've been in on a lot of briefings together and heard some of the challenges, but also some of the solutions.
Yeah, thanks, Rita. So I think the first challenge in reporting is data collection itself. So what data needs to be focused upon is the biggest challenge that enterprises have. When we talk about carbon footprints, the biggest challenge that enterprises are having is the scope 3 emissions, and there are a lot of errors that they are making while they're measuring their carbon footprint along those lines. So, what data needs to be considered? When we talk about the people aspect of sustainability, is it just that we want to look at the percentage of women that we are hiring, or we really do want to look at the percentage of women in the leadership? How deep you want to dive when it comes to the people aspect of sustainability, how you're serving your customers, whether you're adding benefits to the community that you're serving, the stakeholders that you have. So all those questions need to be answered. While reporting looks a very dry process, the vision behind it is very important. So once you are on the right track to identify the data that you need to report, you can definitely measure and manage that data, and then you will be on the track for sustainability. I think Katrina also has a question around L'Oreal that's interesting. So she's asking whether it's only about launching a new revenue line, but are they also focused on making their traditional product line sustainable? I have an example in mind. I think Garnier is a brand that who was selling in China recently, but they stopped doing that and they had a considerable share in China. But because there is an emerging demand for such products which are sustainable, the brands definitely have to go on that path. So greenwashing was there definitely. I mean, there is a lot of greenwashing that is happening across enterprises. But as the demand for such products are emerging, the companies, the industries, they have to take steps, the real step towards sustainability. So I hope that answers your question, Karina. Plus, they're also sourcing palm oil from sustainable sources, and they're increasing that percentage every year. So all those initiatives this cosmetic industry, including L'Oreal, is taking.
Yeah, and I think Jennifer W. added to the conversation that Katrina and others are having about that, about saying about the factors of packaging and suppliers, and a lot of the point that we try to make here at Everest Group is that's absolutely part of the green journey. But we're really wondering, where is it that technology ends up becoming an enabler in all of those factors? So it's not just the physical aspect of the products, which packaging and the supply chain matter in that, but also what is the role of technology in that? So just a quick pause on answering questions by telling everyone, anyone that's attending this LinkedIn Live session, we want to make sure that you hear about an offering that we're making. We're doing complimentary briefings to discuss discuss your sustainability journey. So there's going to be a link in the chat to access that potential. So back to the chat, which I feel like there's been a great discussion, and I'm so thankful that Money, you raised the question about ESG versus CSR. And, knowing that you're dialing in from India, I think there is a certain terminology about CSR, and there's specificity to CSR. But when we really think about the broader concept of what we mean by sustainability or ESG, CSR goes much beyond what the ideas go much beyond what's there in what's formally mandated from a CSR perspective. Sorry, tripping over my words. Arpita, Meenakshi, do you have more to add to some of the discussion and commentary that's going on in our chat about CSR versus ESG?
I think that, Rita, you covered it pretty well, and I think this is not the question we are getting for the first time. But as Everest Group, the messaging that we are driving it is sustainability is again not just about the social responsibility, environment responsibility. It's not just about the positive impact. There are business cases for sustainability globally. Organizations, we saw a few examples in the discussion before, and those examples definitely do not do justice to the amount of work, the amount of initiatives that are happening across the industry to prove how sustainability is not just about positive impact. It's there's a definite business case, definite and proven business case for sustainability, and that's the way forward for the organizations.
That's right. That's right. Pankaj, I love how chatty you are here. Pankaj says that in his opinion, that CSR is still narrow, wherein ESG is a much wider view. Yeah, and I think we see that as well. Terminologies aside, I think each company, each institution is going to use whichever terminologies they want to, but defining it and putting in place that sustainability journey or that purpose journey, maturity framework is really where sort of the rubber hits the road. So yeah, I think this has been a great conversation, and I'm excited about where we're at on this, bringing up sustainability and the important role of technology, but also drawing so many of these parallels to say that it's not about trade-offs, but it's about really that there's a business case and there's mutually beneficial activities that are happening here. So any final questions, comments? Don't forget, the more you react, comment, or ask questions, the more trees that we're going to be able to plant on your behalf. We're really excited about this. This is, talk about having a business case to doing something related to sustainability. In our case, this was something that was going to be fun, but we also thought it might help in driving a little bit more engagement. So do tell us what you think about it. And I think we've already gotten a few amazing comments on the case studies that we shared, as well as the idea of doing the tree planting. And I think we're actually already over time. We're over 30 minutes. So I think at this point, it'd be great to kind of at least tabulate where we're at in terms of tree planting. And maybe if we're off by some factor, we can get some claps or hearts or support that. And I don't know, maybe even some funnies now that LinkedIn has added that option. Oh, and you know what? I forgot to mention at the very start of this, please do connect with us. Please do connect with us on LinkedIn, whether that's following the Everest Group company tag, or even Arpita, Meenakshi, and I were all there to be connected with. But even better is connecting with each other. I see so much conversation going on, and a lot of them really interesting stuff. We've just gotten Ashok chiming in. Ashutosh chiming in, getting to grips with environmental, social, and governance. Companies should take ESG seriously. So ESG is not the latest business think fad. Yeah, I think Ashutosh, we totally agree with you. And we are seeing that as an issue that's getting brought to the board, and not just at the board level, but not just a conversation point at the board level, but it's even now becoming something that people are being measured on and being rewarded on. So yes, the recording of this will be available both on LinkedIn and eventually on YouTube. And we really thank everyone that's been commenting and giving us all of their praises. So we are getting ready to wrap up. Arpita and Meenakshi, I'd love for a few more comments on your part, because we're only at 117 trees. I thought we might get more than that. So do tell us something of your brilliance and insights into this as we wrap up.
Sure, Rita. I just, before we wrap up, I just want to highlight one point, that when it comes to sustainability enablement, I feel together globally, we are just still scratching the surface. There is so much potential in this space. There is so much potential that corporates across the world hold in making a change in the ESG aspects, be it protecting the environment, be it the social impact, be it the governance impact. And I don't know if we were talking about terminologies, but I do feel sustainability is the new digital transformation. And I'm just very excited about the kind of conversations, the kind of experiences our clients are going to share with us, and how much we can contribute in helping them going ahead in this journey.
I love that. Digital transformation is the new, sustainability is the new digital transformation. It is cross-cutting, that's for sure, just as digital transformation. Meenakshi, do you have any closing thoughts?
I mean, this was amazing, and Arpita, Rita, you have covered most of the things. There is a good question. I would like to answer it shortly. So it's from Ashok Pamidi, and he's asking if we can give an example of technology being incorporated to manage the G part of the ESG. I think it's a very good question. There is a lot of overlap between the S and the G part at times, and there's one example that comes to my mind, which is emerging technologies and accessibility testings being used across the applications for the workforces that companies have to make them more accessible for the diverse group of people that they're hiring. So that's one example that comes to my mind, because I think, Rita, we've seen in the impact sourcing as well, and companies have started employing diverse workforce, people with special abilities, and to make all these applications accessible to them, a lot of emerging technology is being used. So I hope that answers your question, Ashok.
I think Ashok is going to love that answer, because I know him personally as being a huge advocate for inclusion of persons with disabilities. So I love that your example was about accessibility. So I think we're starting to get towards the end of our session. Really appreciate all the love and the comments of keeping up all of this work. Let's see if we can get a final count. 163 trees. I think that's great. It's not going to completely reforest anywhere, but I think it's part of the conversation, part of the ongoing efforts that we're all making for sustainability, and to make that broader difference, both for the climate and for all of us in that are on this globe. Thank you so much for joining us, and please do reach out. Please do avail of the complimentary briefings that we talked of, and keep looking at our sustainability. Oh, sorry, I forgot to mention, we have a whole section of our website where we're trying to capture all of the work that we're doing from a sustainability perspective. I think we might be able to plop that into the chat as well, and just let everyone know that Everest Group is focusing in on this as an important area of work, both because it's the right thing to do, but also because of all this opportunity that we know is out there. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Please do connect with us, connect with each other, and let's make a bigger difference in the world. Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much.
everyone.